costing money, and they receive a little fund for it, a little fees, but they cannot charge too much on that. So there is a weird. See, and the more you study, the more you understand what's happening. So what's happened is, legally you can actually become that, but it was two things to that why also people cannot do it. That one is because the steel is special, but the second is because there is an element of decontamination that they don't know how to handle it, because you never know the history of that container. So you always can be blocked by some kind of rules locally to build, who say, hey, I don't know what was the contamination of that, I don't want that to use. So this is why you have companies who try to build with container here, but they have to, by law, have the one who are 1 year or new. So that doesn't matter because it's expensive. Those are, especially now, they're even more expensive because it's difficult. So those are not good. The one that we worked, it was that. And to do that, we had two really strategy. One is that we have 400 pages of calculation who can tell me the structure, millimeter by millimeter. If I cut this, if I take that, what I can do. So for example, if I take a corrugated metal wall that I cut, and I cut them in every 6 inches, so 15 centimeters, and I weld 8 of them, one next to each other, is the equivalent strength of a 6x6 or 4x4 beam, a 1/4 inch thickness. So this is what we did. We went to create a correlation. So, but that's cheap. On the house that we built in the hill, we have the number for that. If the reinforcement cost $14,000 at that time, it was even before COVID. After COVID, I don't even put the number. So it was 14,000. If we had a factory, it would be less than $1,000 because the robot can weld that in a couple of minutes. And we have those left over because you cut the container to put them together to make that. So that was one of the elements, those calculations. And the second one is to find a way to decontaminate for free or cheap, really cheap. So, and we discovered that 90% of the decontamination can be gone if you sandblast the container completely on the metal part. But we want to keep the floor because that's a thick wood who is actually treated for water, so it will be stupid to lose that. And that's thanks to one of the materials that we have. The third material that we use is and you probably know because they told me that Lafarge is one of your customers. Lafarge has a concrete created in 1993 called ultra high performance concrete. And right now they are the one on the market to control it. But since 16 years now, we have the competition of Lafarge, and we work on make it cheaper, everything. But we have that concrete, and we discovered that concrete is actually blocking any chemical that can be inside the wood. If you put a layer of self-leveling concrete on top of it, just a 4 millimeter of that concrete, it blocks the chemical of inside. And we try all the chemical. The only thing that we don't want to play with, if it was how you call that, radioactivity, because that's it's not good. But you don't have a lot of containers who have radioactivity.
Yeah, but you can clean them also.
We could.
So, for example, in Germany, they get away all this atom plants, and they clean everything inside, and at the end it will go out to the market, and it can be everything. So it can be that at the end you will have a spoon out of a of some really,
yes, I like that. It's perfect.
And they clean it, so they put it in some acid, for example.
Exactly, and then
clean
they
it completely.
So, and this is what I believe.
Yeah. And there's a measurement system, of course, that costs you a lot.
Expensive.
But the knowledge is there.
Yeah, but it costs a lot. So that's what we try to create, to go back really good. So the factory is not a defined element who doesn't move anymore. If you take that process that I told you of the guy who tried to create a new material, imagine instead of try to go to sell that, you do that, you find this company who has that knowledge, and you negotiate with them, and now instead of selling to one, you don't have to sell because you have 100 factories who has the possibility to do that technology. So it's already there. So the only thing you have to do is bring it to 100 factory, and now you don't even have to know that. And with the idea of the crypto, we even add the last point that we were missing on the exchange of all that.
But what is the real connection between crypto and this, let's say, common business?
But this is why is to me, the crypto that is today is really going toward a security crypto or utility crypto. I don't know if you are familiar with. So they are linked to the business itself, direct or indirect. For example, if you want a stable coin, you will have to be linked to whatever you do. Give some share of your company or some asset, or become an asset itself, because it's important. But where I try to go is to create a new currency. So and to create a new currency, you have to stay stable on that. It cannot go too high, it cannot go too low. Like the dream of the dollar when the dollar was backed by gold, you know. But the problem is it doesn't work to be backed by something physical, or because you always have to add, or you need more money than you have. That it will be all the gold of the universe to be able to do the business of the future with the dollar that is printed today.
And how is this crypto is created?
Yes, so and I'm coming to that, because if you don't understand the factory, then the crypto doesn't work. So the goal here is to give the factory to the developer all over the world at cost. So which means now the developer he own contractor, architect, and engineer who can produce, let's say, 5 buildings per year, any type of building. Whatever is on the site. That factory can produce only 100 miles or 160 kilometers, or I would say 200 kilometers maximum, because you have to solve also the problem of ecology, not political ecology. I don't care about that, the real ecology. So that is one of the elements, and you have to try to produce that on site. Now, thanks to that also is the reduction of the cost, is that thanks to the fact that the factory is really studied for automation and robot. Today, to build 500 complete homes, it will take about the equivalent of 5,000 full-time jobs at any level, from architect to the laborer to the cleaner. Everything is the process today in global, and that's why it's difficult to find a best way to pay the employee, to find even employee, because you always have to reduce, because no matter how much you pay, it's always going to be too expensive. Thanks to the robot and to the reorganization of that, you need with the factory 500 employees to build 5,000. So you just switch. So now it doesn't matter how much you pay your employee; it's still going to be nothing. So even if you triple the minimum wage, you have, for example, 1,500 employees who build 5,000 homes instead of, again, 5,000 who build 500 homes. So that's really important on the economy. So now you have an economy that literally, and I can go on detail on numbers, can save 75% of the construction cost and build a high-end building, because it's all defined. And it's simple. It's because the world of construction today is so a waste of energy, of material, of money, that is not. So I like to use that example. The world of construction today is like trying to catch the sand with your hand open, and the only thing we did is do that. So we didn't try to do magic, we just do that. So look the difference of catching sand if I do that and if I do. That's it. So this is really the secret, actually. But why you do that is because right now everybody think to himself, and he try to make his own business work like a microorganism. But if you put everything there and you give everything at cost, and we can do that because we become like a little McDonald's, not in a good way, not in a bad McDonald's, not a franchise but a licensing. Now we regroup the energy of everyone, and it can be a negotiation. I give a best example. You try to build a hotel with 200 rooms. You go to buy the toilet, 200 toilets, you can negotiate the price. But if I have 10 factories, I can buy the toilet factory. I don't even have to go to negotiate. I buy the toilet factory, I raise the salary of the people who are there, I sell at cost to them. So but now how you live? You say, but how you live? It's because I take 15% of the profit of the project. So which means the cheaper is the project for you, the more are my 15%, because the more will be your 85%. So now suddenly we're not enemy by definition, which I try to sell you something, you become my enemy, because I try to make money, you try to save money. Instead of that, I'll give you at cost, and when you sell, I take 15% of the profit. So my goal is to make sure that whatever you got there is the cheapest as possible, like that the profit is the margin, those 15%. So we are in alignment without even having to.
But 15% are bound to the selling price.
Yeah, so it's not the selling. No, it's not the selling price. It's the profit. So what's happened is the way you work is that those 50% is more complicated than that. So what's happened today, when you build, you have a construction cost. The construction cost is one, for example. And then you call a bank to do an appraisal, every developer, when the building is finished, to refinance that construction cost, because usually it's at 7 to 10% for only 2 years. And then now you have an asset, the bank will take that asset as a collateral, will refinance your project. So when you refinance, the bank will take a third party to appraise your project. And the difference between the value of your project, and that is what the bank accepts to refinance, and sometimes even less. You refinance only 60% of it, but it doesn't matter. Where I put my 15% is the value appraised minus the construction cost. So it's a fee that you add to the construction cost. So I give you a best example. We did a design in a building in Las Vegas. The contractor, the average contractor to build what we ask to build request $21 million for that project. The bank appraised that project at $30 million. So that would have been a conventional construction cost. With the factory, it cost $10 million to build, not 21. Thanks to that, now the difference between the 30 million and the 10 million is 15% of that is 20 million, 15 is a 2.7 million. So the real cost of construction is 12.7 million instead of 21 million. So that's what, I mean, you don't give me the money in advance, which I think that's one of the problem of the real estate today, is that you had a really huge developer when I arrived in America, close 2008, who was in the news because they say big developer went out of business because he built a $50 million project who worth 30 million overnight. But the contractor, he went home with almost the 50 million. He didn't say, hey, sorry, my friend, let me give you part of the profit, like that you don't die. He didn't say that. He took the